Really?
Okay, just for everyone's information, we're waiting on two of our council members to arrive, and then the meeting will start right after that.
They must accept it, but they can county bed.
So if it's 500 beds, they can say, oh, 2 beds.
Two. Yeah. I don't know what that.
Well, yeah,
Yeah. So that's always possible.
Like you go to
And I forget which one of the areas. I was through.
could be one of the inner city.
I was through
That's not.
5 or 6 different agencies where you call them and they say, call this one. And you call that one. We'll do that. We do this. Call this one. They just keep, I think it was out by the agency. And he, you know, I think he sort of likes when he goes down to the office, because he's already done.
Right.
And so it seems like he would do it.
We won't have it during the public
It's
comment.
got to thrive there too. Somebody taking care of you.
Yeah, I don't know, is there something I can do?
So we're gonna talk about next steps.
Yeah.
We're gonna authorize the
That's wrong.
Right.
It is what it is.
It's
Yeah.
needed
Okay.
in order to get.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
As long as-
No, we just wanted to hear from you, know, what's going on,
Very good.
and then we'll exchange information.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Once we get that, dominoes start
Sounds
falling.
good.
They step to the bathroom and take you.
Well, what do you do? Oh, I walk around with my arm. Yeah, the bathroom's out, we have to, and that's it. To him, that's just an exercise.
That's fine. I can't imagine.
They put them on, I flow on 5 pound media. When I was in the day, this afternoon, they had him off 5 pound.
Oh, really?
So they must have made progress.
Does he have to split that?
Yeah, yeah. He has 5 pound home too, but
Yeah.
it wasn't, you know, the knees cranked up. They put them on really high
Like that?
flow and forced.
Okay,
It
yeah.
was essentially re-pouring.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, you guys are working throughout the day.
Yeah, mostly. He did start most of the time. Man will take like a breakfast sandwich up in the morning.
Kevin's subdivision is delayed until
They don't need the junk food. So,
we have to dedicate days,
yeah.
then the county will.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then he can get his easement, and then he can start his business.
That's not funny, but that's.
Eddie,
Called
Eddie
dominoes.
orders that stuff.
That's
Why?
Oh, yeah, they deliver now, yeah.
Yeah. The people, lives of people usually drink up the ice
Kevin's.
Oh, no.
That's all he ever orders.
Don't you guys drink anything other than milk?
It's like a.
They don't eat cheese?
So Dale Alley goes in from the Affordable Pet, straight across. And then, Posey Place comes off of the end of that and goes down and around. So they both go the same direction eventually. They parallel. It's not much, you know. That's perfect. I have 606.
Call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have Laura, myself, April, Mayor, Tim, Chief, and David. All right, we'll have public comment for any action item.
So we have first, Justin.
Take a look at it.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, on any action item?
Probably not.
No? Okay. Yes?
No.
Nothing, okay. Dave?
Yeah, what's the first resolution, 2416 through 2419? Very first action item there?
So those are all just reauthorizations. They set administrative fees, zoning fees, saldo fees, and appointments to committees. It's the usual stuff we do once a year. So in reorganization years, like at the beginning of this year, we have to wait till January to do those because it's a new council. In the off years, we can do it prior to January because it's the same council. So we can't authorize it prior to a new council coming on because you can't hold them to
Right.
actions from previous council. But yeah, we'll go over all those when we get to them. Yep.
I actually have one question. How do I go about getting copies of minutes or listening to audio from certain borough meetings?
So the audio is not kept after the minutes are made. So the minutes are online and they're on our website. Yep. And they go on the website after they're approved the following month.
So how long do they go back for? Is it like a year or?
We've got several years back on
Okay.
that. But if there's something that's not there, just call us
Yeah,
or
last
email us
year's.
and just say, hey, I'm looking for the minutes from this meeting.
Okay.
Yep. And Todd's good. Okay. Everybody's good?
All right. Minutes from November 21st.
Rick, Scott, real quick.
Laura made motion.
Is Courtney on there? Courtney on there to talk? So you skipped over.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
No, you're good, you're good. My
She
only,
yelled at me, I'm sorry.
I was like, did I not? Mine is just with the proposed parking ordinance, the amendment, because I kind of, based on last month's meeting, I know it was going to a time frame possibly. I just wanted to make a note and add into possibly could, with the time frame, could we limit it to Labor Day to Memorial Day, just because I know most of it was due to the bus traffic. With that, usually around that time then, there's more people at home because students are now at home during the summer. They're gonna be parking more on the streets. So I didn't, just an idea for that amendment, throw into that. Having it go from Labor Day to Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, everybody good?
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. I have a motion by Laura to approve the minutes of November 21st. I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a comment about the values of all the needs of the residents. I think it should be noted that administrative language is used in his comments. at the end of the meeting.
Do you want me to add that as a comment for this meeting?
Correct. I'm not repeating it,
No, I'll put it for the good of the order.
it's just what it was.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. So for the treasurer's report, the final finance report will be run for the end of the year, 12/31. What we're going to do is we're going to start aligning the finance reports to the end of the month so that they coincide with the periods that the auditors look at. Essentially, I'm doing 2 reports every month, and it doesn't make sense. So we're just going to streamline it to the 1 report at the end of the month. And I'll present that at the next meeting. As far as what I have tonight, I do have a presentation. All right, so on the board up top there, you'll see, let me get the right one. We'll come back to this in a minute. Okay, so this is the Abbottstown Borough budget performance through today. So it's everything's paid through today. I probably have 1 more week of payroll to do to add to this, but I don't foresee any other bills coming out, and I don't foresee any other income coming in. So at this point, budget performance, real estate taxes, you'll see there, budgeted 178.7. We actually received 214.817. So that was a surplus of $36,000, 120%. Local enabling taxes, that's per capita, real estate transfers, earned income, local services tax. You'll see we came in just over 200,000. That's a 39,000 surplus from the budget. Licenses and permits, almost 110% there. Business licenses, we don't usually budget for these because they don't come in very often, so it is additional income. Fines, you'll see that's from parking tickets, district magistrate, the county, and the state, and also any other items that may come through, such as a violation of ordinances. So we budgeted that at 9150, came in just over 12,000, so that's a 134% performance. Interest, I have an interest in this one. We budgeted 150 based on what we get from ACNB in our bank accounts, and this year, of course, I did some investments in Pliget, which is state authorized, so we are allowed to do that. And instead of $150, we made $6,861 in interest. That is just general fund. That is not liquid fuels. From liquid fuels funds, we gained almost $10,000 in interest. So almost 17,000. Intergovernmental revenues don't get budgeted. Local government grants. So you'll see the 17,142 there. That's the Adams County grant. We still get a portion of that after I close out the grant in the spring. General grants there, 8,000. That is the grant money that Chief Graham gets from the state for traffic enforcement. I'll talk about that later. So you'll see we're at 900% performance for our intergovernmental revenues. Shared revenues, right on budget, 100%. Charges for government services, we don't normally budget these except for the permits. Permits were a little low, but you'll see the zoning and saldo fees balance that out. So these two numbers together equal the 6,000 there. So that came in at 134%. Public safety, these are just charges we normally don't get. Road occupancy permits, that's if somebody's digging in the ground in the roadway and they've got to fix it. I'll touch on that a little bit later. Culture and recreation, that's just our pavilion rentals, and then the inspection fees for them cleaning up. Contributions, you'll see 1659 there. These are private donations that come in from folks. Dale often gives his salary back, so that's part of that in there. And then unclassified, that's anything minor that comes in that doesn't have a classification. Through those all zeros. Refund from prior expenditures. This is money that I go after. So if there's refunds we're owed, or if there are charges the borough gets that need to be passed on to somebody else, that's the money I go out and collect. So that's 16,000. Total income 508,243. We budgeted 378,650. So that means we're over budget 129,000, and that's 134% performance. Now with the expenditures, I'm not going to comment on anything that's 100% because that's exactly what we budgeted. There's a franchise fee, a quarter missing out of this that needs to be paid when we get it from Comcast. Legislative bodies is just council salary. Dues and subscriptions is a little high because we paid 24 at the beginning of the year, because there again we couldn't pay it early because of the council changeover. But then I paid this month the 25 dues ahead. So that's what that balance is, and that'll balance out next year. Executive salary and wages, office supports for Elijah. Admin is for my managerial work. So you'll see we came in right at 101 for the year there. So that's good on budget. Auditing services, that's just one charge. Tax collection. So what we do is whatever we're anticipating that we're going to collect, we have a percentage we pay to the treasurer. So I got pretty close on that. But that's all passed through anyway. So the more money we bring in, the more money we pay out on that. So that's why you see that. And then supplies, we had an extra mailing this year from the treasurer. So that's what those are. Still came in at 107. Solicitor, I'm going to cover that a little bit more and tell you how great Mr. Schultes is for us. But you'll see there he came in under budget 94%. Secretary, clerk, and treasurer. What we're labeling this as, this is the community part of the office, not my manager grant part of the office. So you'll see there, secretary, treasurer, my other two jobs. That's salary for that. And then going down through, you'll see we didn't use a lot of that, 96%, so we came in under budget for that department. IT, we were a little expensive this year, and the reason was we hired Elijah in November, so the budget was already done. We paid $1,200 unbudgeted for a laptop for him, which is the one we're using to stream our meetings now. So it does get used. And then if you look at contracted services, we're over 24. 18 of that was the Savvy Citizen app that we started. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty happy with it. It's a lot better than some of the others I've seen. So we took a little hit there, but I think it was worth it. Engineering, you'll see we almost doubled the budget there, but if you look over here on the green, 15,217 is what we received back when I went out and charged back to the other people. So taking that out, that brings that in under budget. General government buildings, we backed all the capital projects out of the general fund because that goes to the capital budget. Supplies, we had some extra supplies this year. Got a desktop printer. We put changing tables in the park restrooms and got supplies for those, so that was part of that cost. And then if we go down through, we still came in budget for that department at 96%. Police, and I'll break this down a little more in my next report. You'll see capital purchase over here for half the truck. The money in yellow here, that's money that we paid overtime, so the police get time and a half for their grant time, but that money gets paid back to us from the state. So they put in the money and then we receive that back. So the borough doesn't pay any of that technically. They pay this wage, and I'll cover that in a little bit here. But even with all that, you'll see the police department came in under budget 94%. Fire, public utility services, your hydrants, we did have an increase. We used to get a discount on that from the state, and they stopped giving that discount. So that's the difference there. And then the fire tax, if you look at that, that is a pass-through. So what that means is I can budget that based on what I think our income is going to be. But if we get more income, then that number goes up that we pay out. So it's a wash basically. So fire came in at 110, not too bad with the utility, unexpected utility increase. UCC and code enforcement, I'll get a little more into this and explain what these numbers mean here. Basically, the higher, if you remember on the income, the fees we brought in were higher, and I'll cover that in another itemized report. Planning and zoning as well. You'll see the big thing there is the codification. So that was to update, that was a 3-year update to our code books. We've done 3 years ago, so every 3 years we try to make sure they're, we go through them and that they're correct. But we do submit them every time we get an ordinance, so you're supposed to update them right away. Emergency service management, you'll see we blew that out of the water, but that's because we bought 2 AEDs. One is now outside of this door in the hallway. The other one went into one of our emergency vehicles so that we are prepared if we need those. Money well spent. Public works. So we do have Borough that does our public works. And you can see utility services came in lower. Contracted services with Berwick, and then the winter snow removal that came in under because we haven't had a lot of big events. So we're only at 67% for the year. Participation, EBAC, we gave 3 years worth of donations because I realized we hadn't been signing up. It's my fault. So we evened up with them. And that's the difference there. Parks, we did a lot in the park this year. You'll see some capital money over here on this side. We did spend $5,500 that we weren't planning on to take some trees down that were rotting out down here by the baseball field, so they didn't fall on anybody. And then 4190 was DAS after our employee got sick and had to get surgery. We had to bring somebody in, so that's the extra expense there. But that would have normally come out of the public works wages and salary here. So as you can see, it is a little more expensive to get a pro in, but we were able to get it done. Civil and military, these are repairs and such. You see town banners. We bought those 8 town banners to decorate the town. We have taken those down for the winter, and we'll put them back up in spring. That was the extra there. And then down here, we had the center square. When the wall got taken out, we had somebody come in and fix that up. That money came from insurance money we got last year. So we did get the money. It's just basically a pass through. But it shows up on 2 different years. That's why it's not in the budget. $50,000 for the bond for the building, and then we paid an extra $89,500 out of capital. Debt interest, of course, only at 50% because we didn't have to pay the November payment because we paid it off early. And employee paid benefits, this is off of all the wages made, so we came in just under. When I do the last payroll, that'll probably move up to 99%. So, and I think that's the closest I've ever gotten that number. I was happy with that. Insurance and liability coverages, these adjust sometimes. We added a new vehicle this year, so that's why some of that went up. And because of the accident in the square, that's why our property and casualty went up. So you see they went up about $600, $661 total. So it still came in at 107. Other than that, down at the bottom, you'll see total expenses. General fund 411,708. We budgeted 376,843. So we hit 109%. But when you look at the income, it gives us a total surplus for the year, 96,534. And our structural surplus was 1807. That's over 5,000% performance. Capital fund, we started the year at 312,399. I spent just over $200,000. That came from terminating the mortgage, 89.5, truck purchase at 10.6, matching funds for the park 55, and then employee pension contribution of 45, and that was for 7 years. So that gave us a remaining balance of 112, 126. The projected surplus there of 96.5 gives us a cap start of 208,661, plus the J.A. Myers money that we're going to receive, 132,000 for the park matching funds, gives us a capital fund for next year 340,661. With police department, so let's talk about how good Mr. Graham is. Now, let me preface this: you don't break even with police. You shouldn't break even with police, and you shouldn't have a quota system that says they've got to make so much money. That being said, we budgeted $200 for parking tickets. We got $725. We budgeted $8,500 for magistrate fees. We received just over $11,000. And then the grants for the traffic that I was talking about with the time and a half, we were anticipating $2,800 for that. Chief Graham got in over $8,000. We sold some accident reports, $15 a piece. That has income at $19,936, which was $8,400 over budget. Expenses, total of $66,972. They ran at 102%. Now, what I want you to know about that is I did not back out the grant money there. So if we back that out because that's paid for separately, then we were actually under budget for the police department. And that's with both of their salary lines here and here. That's the capital match. Well, I guess I can pull that out too. Okay. It looks better now. And then if you look at the payroll down here, the incoming funds of 8,000, chief's wages from borough money, and then his grant money, and then borough wages for Officer Bailey and his grant. That gave us $1,752 hours worth of coverage this year. And with that coverage also came increased coverage from PSP, thanks to Chief Graham and his networking. For code enforcement, now this one should balance. So you'll see the fees coming in from zoning, from permits, total income of $8,000. Expenses, total expenses with the hourly fees that we get through PMCA, $54.89. So they plus their budget by almost $2,600. Fire protection, again, this is not a situation where you even out, but for your information, fire taxes, $20,006. Foreign fire tax, $5,400, $26,000. Income outlays with public hydrants, and the foreign fire tax goes right back out, pass through. And then the fire tax that we receive from the 0.2% or 0.25 mil on your real estate comes to $36,600. So the borough only laid out like $10,600 for fire protection this year, which is extraordinary. And then the solicitor and engineer, I'm gonna make Mr. Schultz blush here for a minute. So for the year, legal services came to 12.3. That's under budget, 95% there. And then engineering came to 41. We budgeted 28, but with the money we received back, 13.5, it came down to the borough paying 27.5, which was under budget of 28. How does that compare? So you'll see the years here. You'll see the solicitor's totals. You'll see the engineer's totals, and then both of them combined. Now I've started here in technically November 17 was my first month. So I didn't have much say here. 2018 is when I started. We still had a guy for a solicitor, and we still had C.S. Davidson to start the year. As you can see, prior to that, our average year between the two was over $100,000 that we were paying, just to the solicitor and the engineer. My first year, it's 53.2. And then as I started doing some of the minor functions, let me explain this. Guy, when he was our solicitor, every month was charging us over $1,000 for zoning work. Now, whatever that zoning work was, going through ordinances, making suggestions, changes, whatever, that's the work I'm doing now. So instead of paying $200 an hour, you're paying $30 an hour. And then I have those documents. I forward those to Mr. Schultz. He does a review of them, make sure everything looks good as far as legalese, and that saves the borough money. So in the 5 years that I've been doing that, our average between the two is 38.1. You see, we saved over $6,000 or $60,000. We did get Mr. Schultz half of this year in 2018. Guy was here until May. He ran up 13,000. Mr. Schultz came in, only ran up 7,000 the rest of the year. So that tells you a little something about his quality and his affordability for us. So we do thank you. And I think that's it for that. And said I will have a full report in January. Until then, I have the report there for the expenses for this past month, and I just need a motion to approve and ratify the bills. Not only here, but the ones that I may receive till the end of the year that I have to pay.
Motion by Laura, second by April. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, let's roll into the administrative reports. All right, resolutions 2024-16 through 19. I put these on here to be en bloc, which means just vote on them all at once because there's nothing controversial here. These are just annual reauthorization. So 2016 is for the administrative costs. That's just what the office charges for different fees, or what the engineer or the solicitor would charge if they dealt directly with the resident. So that's the money that we charge back. That's the money I said we get back in. And I did send all these out to council to read ahead of time. 17 is the approved fees for zoning. And that's just, if you're coming in to get a zoning permit, this is how much it costs. The rental inspections were put on there as well, $50 per year. What happens is we do one inspection every 2 years. So $50 one year, $50 the next year comes in. 75 of that goes towards the inspection, and then 25 is an administrative fee. So the borough is only receiving $25 every 2 years for those inspections. And that's just to keep track of them. 18 is the Saldo subdivision and land development process fees. And that is basically, again, just the fees the engineer or the solicitor would, and we mentioned those over on the other side, on 17. And then 19 is the appointments of public officials. That is just who's going to serve on what committee, and how much I'm going to have to do. So that's it. That's all that is. So if you want to vote on those en bloc, we need a motion and a second.
Second.
A motion by Laura, second by April. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, manager proposed amendment for parking ordinance. So what, I've talked to some of you about this already, and I've talked to other people about it. So specifically, what the amendment says is the other ordinance said no parking at any time. And what this one says shall now read during weekdays from 6 to 5 is when they'll be restricted, except for borough recognized holidays, which are New Year's Eve and Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Like Easter's on the weekends, so we don't have to worry about that because we're not restricting weekends. And then there's one for the ordinance and one for the codification. To that effect, I have a letter here from Matt Muller, who's Director of Safety and Communications, Conway Valley School District. He said, I'm writing to express our support for lifting the side street parking ban during holidays, evenings, and weekends in the borough. As a community member and Director of School Safety, I understand the importance of maintaining clear and accessible roadways during peak traffic times. Additionally, this would allow for easier access for our buses in the event that they travel those roads throughout the week. However, allowing parking on side streets during non-peak hours, such as holidays, evenings, and weekends, would significantly benefit residents and visitors. United Hook and Ladder, Chief Rabine, says that he supports the proposed parking restrictions within the borough from 6 to 5, except weekends and holidays as outlined in the plan. And then Chief Brian Wheeler from Adams Regional EMS basically said the same thing, that he supports the amendment. So with that, it is up to council. If you would like to advertise the amendment as presented, I would need a motion and a second. If you do not want to advertise it, then my plan is to get signs in January and put them up for the current ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by April, second by Laura. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is to authorize an agreement with EAS for 2025 park maintenance. I know Mayor had asked me about this recently. So as I explained, our employee got sick, had to have surgery, dropped off like immediately. So we had DAS doing the park the last several years before that. So we asked him to come in. It was getting really high. We asked him to take care of it. Next year, I will be doing some of the work in the park. We're looking for him to do the heavier work in the park. So the agreement that I drew up is basically the exact same agreement that we've had over the last few years, except we dialed back how much. He was coming out every week, but he's not going to come out every week. He's only going to come out every 2 weeks during the regular season. If during the wet season I need him to come out extra, we do have it put in the budget for those third visits. And that was something that Laura and I had talked about. So we did account for that. So if you would like to enter into agreement with DAS, I need a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion by Laura, second by April. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. So the Adams County Building Officials Association is going to reorganize on January 15th. Currently, Clem Malott from PMCA has been our representative, and now that they're reorganizing, it's appropriate for council to take an action to authorize him to represent us at that meeting. They will be discussing member fees, so that if essentially what happens is if there's it's called the Shared Adams County UCC Board of Appeals. So let's say we have a situation where something happens, Mr. Graham has to go in, give somebody a stop work order or something like that. There's UCC violations, code violations, and somebody wants to appeal that decision. Then this is the group that they would go to. It's basically everybody in the county comes together and uses that. And Salzman Hughes is involved with that, although I don't believe Mr. Schultz is directly. They have another attorney on that. So, so what I'm asking for is a motion and a second to authorize Clem to represent the borough.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Laura, second by April. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So the rental inspection program, notices have been sent out to all owners on record. We will be collecting the fees starting in January. So we've already sent out the information, giving them all of the details on the inspection program and when to expect that. and they are supposed to call in and get that scheduled with us. Elijah is taking those calls and coordinating that with Mr. Graham through code. The YouTube, as you see, is up and running, and hopefully it's going to our website like it should. And, I'll check on that after the meeting, but it looks like everything's working, and we'll be able to stream from here on forward.
When does the inspection start for south side of the borough?
So inspections, rental inspections for 2025 will be the north side of 30 and the 26 south side. Yep. And then this room has been converted in between meetings. It's basically a senior center. I don't want to say senior center, a community center, let's say, although we have older folks that have been coming in and frequenting. These are the same folks that used to come out and use the pavilion, but now it's cold. So now they come inside, they watch TV and, hang out. And if it's too cold at their apartment or whatever, they're welcome to come in during business hours.
And then the water and stuff, you have them paying anything.
Yeah, I mean, we've got bottled water. We also have the two fountains out front. Yep. So, yeah, we have given out some bottled water. And Elijah's been keeping track of what we need for all that. So we're talking. One of the suggestions was for us to get some games and stuff to put over there. So, I mean, I don't want to go nuts with it, but if anybody has games they want to donate, then by all means, bring them in. And as long as they got all the parts, we'll put them here for people to use.
Cards.
Yeah, cards or whatever. Yep. Okay, that's everything. You want me to take the first one? Okay. I'm going to take the first thing under solicitor.
Okay.
So Smizer Concern, Affordable Pet, they submitted a letter. This letter is written to request the adoption of the street known as Dale Alley and the street known as Posey Place by the borough. It's our understanding this process will take place responsibility for maintenance on the borough and no longer carry the task of maintenance, which is correct. And that was always the plan. That's why we went over, we made sure that they did the road properly. And when they didn't, that they ripped it up and redid it so that it was to spec. So now, at this point, dedicating a street is beyond my wheelhouse. So what I've asked is for Mr. Thornton and for Mr. Schultes to work together on the paperwork that's needed to get the streets dedicated. And then, of course, that'll lead to some other projects in the future. But the motion in the second should be to authorize Mr. Schultes to engage with Smizer Concern on the street dedication process.
Motion by Laura, second by April. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? I am abstaining due to the conflict of interest.
So, Mr. Thornton, I'd say that it's going to start with you. We're going to need a proposed deed of dedication, so you probably have to engage your counsel to do that.
Okay.
Send it to me whenever you can. Understood. So we'll start with that. It's not going to end with that, but it'll start there.
The starting point, that'll work.
Okay. Yep. Thanks. Okay, second item is enactment of ordinance number 2024-04. This is a fix amendment to the borough's existing ordinance of 2022-04, which is the recreational vehicle ordinance. It contained an error in terms of identifying the Northern Regional Police Department as the enforcement agent for the ordinance. It should be obviously Abbottstown Borough Police Department. So all this ordinance does is make that change. It's been properly advertised in various times. So is up for action tonight. The action item for council is a motion to adopt ordinance number 2024-04.
Motion by Laura, second by April. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It's not on the agenda, but I'll just announce to council that the ongoing appeal with regard to the car trailer is continuing. The appellant just filed their briefs with Commonwealth Court, so our obligation is to respond within 30 days, so that's January 11. So we'll proceed to do that. So that's all I have.
All right.
For the engineer's report, it's KLM, isn't it? It's not KJM. KLM, Mr. Mal's subdivision proposal is currently on hold right now. A few things have to happen. First of all, he needs road frontage. The current roads are not dedicated yet, so he can't do his subdivision yet. Once the roads are dedicated and they're public roads, then he'll have road frontage, then he can do his subdivision, then he can move forward with his land development plan. So that's all we have for that.
All right. Dan? Code enforcement.
Okay, relative to sidewalks, all the letters have gone out King Street, both east and west. There has been a response. Several people have come in and gotten their permits. There are others who are currently looking for contractors, but do intend to get their sidewalks repaired. I spoke to Joe Zima, who's the manager for highway occupancy for PennDOT in Adams County. And what he is saying to make the whole process easier, the borough should get one permit for all the curbing wherever it is affected. And we would give him a detailed map, what properties are affected, and it would all be handled under one permit just for the curbing. And then anything beyond the curbing, he's going to leave the borough handle it as is, just a conventional zoning permit as opposed to getting PennDOT involved for that. We're still, to the end of the year, not charging a fee for anybody who comes in and gets their permit before that period expires. 13 East King Street, I talked to a contractor who's involved with a concurrent owner who's kicking around purchasing the building himself. Some negotiations with the current owner now. He does get it and intends to move the village with that building. That's all there is for that.
Chief, I have a question. What are we gonna do about the brick sidewalks?
If they are in need of repair, it's the same thing.
Okay.
They can, most of them, one resident did fix their brick sidewalk already. It was off by that farm, was a trip hazard. They had a company come out, pull the sidewalks, level it out, put everything back in, and there you go. There are some sidewalks that are brick that are all over the place and are trip hazards. Same thing applies to them. They can come in, get a permit before the end of the year.
Will the same thing apply to the borough as any other residents? Because we have brick sidewalks also.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
None of our brick sidewalks are out of,
It was just a question that was proposed to me, and I didn't know how to answer.
none of our brick sidewalks that we maintain are in need of repair.
But would we fall under the same protocol as the residents, as the borough to repair them if needed? Okay. I didn't know how to answer. When somebody asked me that question, I said, I don't know.
Like if we have a pothole, I can fix pothole. Yep. My question to you is, what is the cost of the PennDOT?
told me it was gonna be $40.
Really? One permit, $40
For everything.
for everything. Beautiful.
Put that in writing.
Well, I'm gonna put it in the minutes.
But that is only just for anybody who's replacing curbing.
Right.
That's it, nothing else.
So one more thing I want to bring up, and I know Dee said it, but this was a program the council agreed on several years ago. They gave a certain amount of time to get these permits. That time ends December 31st. So even if you're not doing your sidewalk this month, your permits are good for a year. Come in and get your permit while it's free. And then work on it in the spring or the summer, that's fine. But after January 1st, you're gonna pay for the permit. So take advantage of that.
Outdoor storage.
Oh, so I'll cover that. So the outdoor storage ordinance, here's the deal with that. So we've got a proposal forward, but I've had two different council members come to me and say, I'd really like to get some public feedback on this. So that makes it difficult because we haven't advertised it, so it's not really a public document. So it's not like I can just say, here's my draft, because that means nothing. Like a draft means nothing until the council takes action to advertise it. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to set up some times that the public can meet with council outside of this meeting. Because this is a business meeting and we got to keep it to business. But, you know, the back and forth, the talk back and forth that you guys are craving, that's what we're trying to set up. Trying to set up a separate meeting so you guys can have that back and forth discussion. Because if it's outside of the business meeting, that's fine. You guys can chat. And you should. I mean, that's the way we're going to get feedback for this. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to get those meetings set up. We're not going to move anything forward until we get feedback. But we're also going to accept feedback from the public, either by phone or by email. So if anybody has any concerns or, you know, whatever, or suggestions, or, you know, I want this to happen because of this, or I don't want it to happen because of this, send it to my email, Abbottstown@comcast.net. I will compile the information. I will give it to the council members. They'll have their public meetings whenever they decide to set those up. And then, you know, ideally, we should try to have something in place by spring, you know, spring cleanup, you know. But, so that's nothing's going to move on that until the council gets some public feedback.
Police department, chief.
Everything is running status quo. We did just put some money into the truck, battery went out, the tires get replaced. Other than that, everything's good.
Emergency services, nothing over there. Committees.
Good Lord.
I keep forgetting to tell you about the feedback.
The next Abbottstown sewer meeting is September 21st on a Tuesday. Or I don't have it for the whole year because they're going to have to schedule one for every month so they don't have to pay to advertise again, so.
Makes sense.
How do you feel about that?
Going down the list. Anybody have anything?
I'll throw something out for COG. Elijah's going to start going to COG meetings for us.
Good.
Now that he got his license this week.
Alrighty.
So, and he's got a car and he's ready to go. So
Oh, he did get a car.
he's got a car and everything.
Awesome.
He's set.
Good.
All right. Did you have something for feedback?
No, Parks and Recreation.
Okay. Parks and Recreation.
Okay, unfortunately, we did not get the grant. I'm so upset for the park. to put the kids' swings and stuff in. But we had a meeting with the lady from DCNR on Tuesday, who gave us a lot of pointers on how to go after a bigger grant. Hopefully we can get it all done at one time. So please send good thoughts out that we can get this done. Because I really would like to finish getting this park done and get the equipment out there for the kids to play. They need something. We've been a long time. I've been fighting for this for 8 years. And I really, really want to see it get done. I think the kids deserve it. As far as input, I would like input on how you feel about putting trees around where the kids are going to be playing, which I know we need. But what to do till then, to try to shade it. That we can possibly do because things will get hot. As you know, it's getting hotter out. But I'm really looking forward to working with Scotty to try to get this done this year. It would be good to see it. And Scotty's been awesome pushing to get these grants out to get all this work done. The other thing is, I asked people, I would really like to be able to plant the flowers and stuff in the square again. They kind of sank down and didn't do too well this year. I have the planters out here, we have planters down around the pavilion. I would really like to plant them, I'd also like to put more flowers in the park. The only problem is I need help. I got some watering them. If anybody in town can give me 1 day a month, or 1 day a week to help me to keep things watered and looked after, would be greatly appreciated. It's the one problem we have of getting people to help out. The church used to do the runs in front of the church, they won't help anymore. Yeah. But anyhow, it would be nice if I could get that help. I really do appreciate it. Ron's helped me out a lot with planting flowers. He plants a lot of trees and flowers and does a lot of work. So if anybody can just give Scotty an email or text or call or whatever, talk to Elijah, let us know name number. We would like to do it, and greatly appreciate it.
Just to augment, the new DCNR grant opportunity opens up January 21st. And we have to wait till 2nd to submit that. And then it's probably sometime in the fall we find out if we get the money or not. So, and then the other thing was we did receive our 2nd Adams County Park grant from the county commissioners. That was just over $12,000. That will give us 2 footbridges along the walking trails in the park, whereas we've got some streams. That's the best way I can say it. Springs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then a gazebo that we can put out in the middle, so if somebody's walking. I measured it off, and it's just under 1 mile of trails.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like 0.94 miles. So, so if somebody's out walking their dog or whatever, and they need to take a break, there'll be a gazebo they can sit in. And then that'll also include the 9-hole disc golf course. And that's just a pitch and putt. It's not a tournament style. You know, we're not gonna have concrete or anything like that. It's gonna be very environmentally sound. So, and then next year we'll look at the 3rd phase of that, which will be money to take out the old playground and put in a new basketball court, some parking down at that end.
One more thing is, I would like people's input on, one of the things we have a big issue in this town is what to do with leaves and sticks, limbs, all that trim, pick up whatever, we have no place to put them. We would like to start, well, I would like to start a place where we can dump those. I would like your input. If anybody would like to tell me yay, no, go for it, whatever. I'd appreciate that too. Thank you.
Anything else on the other four? Any correspondence?
Yeah, so, we received a letter from the Adams County Office of Aging. We usually send them, I think it's $2,000 a year, as a donation. Yes, so we usually send them $2,000 a year. We did send ours out this year. In the past year, and that goes from July to June, they have provided $2,419.35 worth of services to 9 borough residents. So thanking us for our donation and asking for continued support.
Is that information on the website where people can ask for donations for recommendations for senior citizens? Nothing more or something?
No, we don't have anything like that. They contact the office themselves. Yeah, we're not involved in that in any way. Council years ago had decided to give the donation because of their outlay to our residents. And we usually pay that at the end of the year so that, we know where we're at with our budget. But it is budgeted expense. We did receive the fees that I talked about earlier, the fee schedule from Keller Engineers. So that'll be added to the resolutions. And then just a quick note, Affordable Pet did also give a letter requesting consideration for the borough to annex the part of their property. So their property is split into 3 different municipalities. It's the borough, it's Berwick, and it's Hamilton, all on the same plot. And they are requesting that Berwick allow the borough to annex that part that's in the township. So I did forward that to the township, and I said if they were interested in doing that, that we'd have that conversation.
Where is that on that map?
So you're not gonna see
Okay.
it on that map.
Approximately.
So this property here goes up further. So a diagonal comes across here. So part of it is Berwick, and then the diagonal part of it up here is Hamilton. So they have 3 different municipalities on their same plot. And they're just trying to put it in one because anything that they develop in the future would have to go through all 3 again, like it did before. And they're trying to cut down on the process and only deal with 1 municipality. So we will wait to see if Berwick is amenable to giving up that portion.
Nothing for old business I know of, any new business? Public comment.
That can be on anything. Justin?
I think I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Andrew?
So I guess, a couple things just that I heard tonight, as far as you saying about the AEDs that were put out here in the office and stuff. I know my kids play baseball in Dillsburg because that's where their mom lives, but they did add one at the base. They added them at like the, inside the, where they keep the equipment, that the coaches get the equipment out. They added one of those at the baseball fields. That something like that might be a beneficial idea, or maybe even at the park in the future, depending on what happens with all that. Because you never know. I guess my only other concern in coming here tonight was with like the storage and equipment and things like that, just because I do have landscaping trailers and I don't want it to affect, I mean, they're normally kept alongside the curb or, parked appropriately. I just don't want to have an issue where I can't do the work that I need to do because I have, I've only been doing this for a short period of time, so I don't have the income to have an off-site location or anything at this point yet. So that's kind of my first thought in coming here was to talk about that, but I know since nothing's being done with that yet, that's just my thought process on that at the moment. But I thought the AED thing could be something that could be continued on in other areas. So
Yeah, we'll reach out to the baseball team.
yeah, I just think it's a fair point, if something happens, because I know they had mentioned, I think up in Dillsburg, they had 2 incidents, one where it had to be used for like an umpire and one where it was used for a player, or something like that, I think. So it could be beneficial.
Perfect, thank you.
Are they in a heated building?
No, I don't think so. It's just in like the storage shed at the fields.
It doesn't have to be temperature sensitive.
So I don't know too much about them. I was first aid and CPR certified before previously, but I was never trained on one of those.
You know, concerned with the batteries and all that.
I was gonna say.
I'll give them to baseball coaches.
Well, they aren't really being used too much in the winter, but during the
Because they
season,
can carry it.
yeah,
They can carry
during
it.
the appropriate seasons.
They can keep it with their equipment. Yeah. Jessica.
When is the next, election for the borough?
So, there will be seats available, and I don't know which ones. That'll be in May is the primary, and then in November is the general election.
Okay. Another problem that I'm having with one of your borough, employees, I ended up having to call the state troopers back, about a month or 2 ago now, to have this person stop looking at our house, stop telling my neighbors to contact them whenever they're having issues. My neighbors will not contact him. They've already told us. The only neighbor that will contact him is the one that gives nothing but problems. So I would like you to do something about your chief, because if he watches my house one more time, I'm going to a lawyer next time. It will not be the state troopers. It will be a lawyer to get a cease and desist letter. Because I'm sorry, you can't see 30 from Abbott's Drive. There's no reason that I have to catch somebody looking at my house, and once they see me, take off. That's a little inconspicuous, don't you think? State trooper thought so too. So please keep your cop away from my house unless it's emergency reasons. If I catch him again, I will go to a lawyer.
You should be looking at the mayor, because the mayor's in charge of the
Okay,
police.
well,
not
please
me.
keep him away
I'm
from
not
my
in charge of
house,
the police.
unless it's an emergency.
He has to do patrols in certain areas.
He wasn't
So if
patrolling,
Let
he
me
was sitting by my
finish.
house.
I'd like to talk, please let me finish. All right? The design feature of the police department is to do patrols in the streets of the borough. If he's doing a patrol in the street, meaning driving through around, let me finish. Driving through and around, entering and exiting the property, that's one thing. But I haven't gotten any complaints from you about him sitting
I
on
don't
the property.
contact you. I go to the meetings. I'm just letting you know he
You
was
said
not
he was on the
patrolling.
property, or did I
He was
misunderstand?
right, he literally hides his car right at the edge of our property line, right at the neighbor's shed, where you almost can't see him, but if you're in my backyard on my steps at the bottom, you could see it diagonal from them. When he saw me, he was already sitting there, but when he saw me see him, he automatically took off. He was not patrolling, he was not driving. This is the 3rd time I've caught him doing it. So that's why I called the state troopers this time.
And
Trooper thought also.
Did you get an incident report, please?
He said he was calling into the borough. He didn't give me anything.
Okay.
But I'm sure I can get it if I
Well,
need it.
in the future, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. In the future, if this happens again and you do call the state police, get an incident number. That way I can pull the report, read the report of what the trooper said, and then have his report that coincides hopefully with each other to what he was doing out there. He keeps a daily, if I'm not mistaken, you keep a daily report of what's going on in the borough and what he's been doing.
Are we able to access those if we put in writing that we need those to
I
see
think
them?
that's a right to know request, isn't it, Tom?
Police activity report?
No, I'm just saying, like, if it was around a certain time because you're trying to prove something with an attorney, if you're able to put that in writing to get something like that?
Ma'am,
Mm-mm, I don't wanna hear from him.
well, too bad. Your neighbors complain about you having 13 dogs.
Okay, and we're grandfathered in,
No,
dude.
you're
You
not.
can't, you
You are
cannot
not.
sit and watch my house. Even the
You are
state
not.
trooper said you cannot do that.
It's a public street. Your neighbors have made
Okay,
complaints.
I don't really care about them.
Well, they make a complaint. Then I have
Okay.
to respond to it.
And the state trooper thought it was weird that you were just sitting there.
I was not just sitting there.
You weren't moving.
I was
I
stopped
watched
in
you
front
for
of.
5 minutes sit there.
That's fabrication.
No, it's not.
Right, this is degenerating.
When we went to court last month, you lied. That's why I need the minutes from that last thing, because that's going to a lawyer too. And before I'm done, you will not have a job.
That's slander.
Let's,
Ma'am.
let's,
Nope, it's truth.
let's-
You lied right in front of the magistrate.
All right, next.
Any documents you need, if you can't find them online, give me a call.
I'll be putting a lot in writing.
If I can provide them, I will.
Regarding minutes you can't provide because that's an internal.
Not an activity report.
Exactly.
If you need meeting minutes, I can provide those. But they're online.
If my lawyer requests them, can he get it, a subpoena?
They're online.
Okay.
It's public knowledge. It's online.
No, I'm saying his activity report.
I have no clue, because I'm not a lawyer.
Oh my God.
And I'm not in charge of police department. Dave?
Sir, the parking fund stuff, always. A couple questions I have, I have disappointed that, the two borough members who voted against this or voted for the amendment aren't here, to vote for the advertisement as well. A question about the advertisement, or maybe clarification. The motion to advertise just means to advertise, does not mean to pass the actual amendment, correct?
Yeah, it was the motion should have been to advertise.
Just the advertise, and the next step
Yeah,
process would be.
that was advertised. It wasn't passed.
Correct. The next step after the advertisement would be the next meeting.
Yeah, the next meeting.
Advertisement to actually vote on the terminology.
Yes.
in that.
Yes.
It sounded like you gave Borough Council an ultimatum, to either to do the advertisements, or if they didn't do the advertisement, you were going to enforce it come January 1st. Is that what I heard from your?
So it wasn't an ultimatum. It's already a law. It is currently an active
Correct.
ordinance. I can enforce it now. It was my option to delay it so that I could find another way to go. We've spent 7 months on it.
Well, 7 months, you guys, but the public's only known about this for the past couple months.
For
You guys
4 months.
spent a couple months, right? But so, with that being said, is there a time frame? Sounds like you're up against a deadline to do this. Is there a time frame to do it? Because it sounds like from my understanding, or from my understanding of this, I mean, it looks like, and based on conversation and who's voting for it, sounds like you like to get this done sooner than later.
It's just a dead horse.
So
We spent too much time on it.
but it could still be, that there's nothing stopping it from going forward, being delayed a year, correct?
It was a law anyway.
They passed it. I can enforce it today.
I understand.
I'm choosing not to.
I understand that. The question of concern is the amendment, right? This amendment, so this could not, we could also, you guys could also have an amendment to reverse the ordinance, correct?
Well, it's not an amendment, it's a repeal.
A repeal. But that could be done, correct? Okay.
Council can repeal any ordinance.
Okay. I mean, that's an option. Just want to get that out there. That's an option. We don't even have to have this. So there's nothing really that's dependent on the street ordinance. I know certain council members really want this done quickly, for whatever reason.
No, it's
Just
not quick.
certain council members want it done sooner than later for whatever reason, even though it doesn't really affect anything for the past 25 years. I find that kind of concerning. That's just my personal opinion. So this amendment, now that you're saying if you don't vote on the amendment to be advertised, then you're going to enforce it anyway. So it's kind of forcing them to vote on it instead of delaying it further. That's just my observations.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
So that answers that question. The YouTube, live stream here, it is live, correct?
Yep.
Okay, this will be, all audio will be saved, recorded.
It's on the website right
Yep,
now.
Yep. Which is obviously, this is exactly what we wanted.
Yep.
Right? So even though these minutes are generated, right, all the audio that's generated in this meeting doesn't have to be in the minutes.
On the website.
Right. Well, no, I think that's absolutely wonderful.
I did that when I first joined McSherrystown Borough. I was doing it myself because council didn't want to do it. And I do it at my other borough as well.
I think it was a recommendation that I made, a couple months ago, and I'm glad that you acted upon it. It just gives the public more, people who can't, obviously can't come here.
Yep.
Leading into that, I know it's maybe a little bit down the road, but for public questioning like this, obviously you have to be present here right now to ask questions during public comment. If we're live streaming this, there's obviously a potential for the public to ask questions via the live stream. Just suggestion out there, I don't know, it obviously have to be moderated and things like that, but, I think it would be beneficial, I don't know if other boroughs do it or not, to have, what's that?
They don't. They did over COVID because the meetings were closed. So they did allow questioning during that, but really the streaming is a one-way communication. It's so that there is a way for somebody who can't be here to see and hear what happened, hear the conversations,
Right.
So they can be involved and more knowledgeable. But to do that, the boroughs that I know have tried to do that stopped doing it because it's just too much to keep up with, and it's constant.
Well, you have more public out there, obviously asking questions.
But
that could be here, but
the situation with us, and what I always say in my other borough as well, is if somebody has questions about what they see in this meeting, they should email me. And ask those questions, I'll get them
and
answered.
that's good now that the public, more of the public can see and hear what's going on. You guys, I would hope, would get more correspondence based on the conversations.
Yeah.
That
That's
are here. Right?
I thought I'd have more correspondence this past month, but
Well, yeah,
and the month before.
You can only lead a horse to the water. I mean, at least you're giving them an opportunity. You can't tell them what to do. But I think it's great, at least, for people who can't be here all the time, or really have other things to do. But, that was good. That was it.
Yeah, and that's the reason I do this now, so that everybody can see what I'm talking about. Some people can't pick up, auditory, some people are visual, so that's why I'm trying to find different ways to, and that comes out of my diversity training. I got diversity training at the beginning of the year, and it's like, okay, consider, other options for other people.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, one other thing real
Yes,
quick. And I brought this up not last meeting, we kind of talked about this before. So the action items, that are always available on the agenda, it kind of brought up before I made the suggestion of getting details about the action items prior to the release of the agenda, because as of John Q. Public, we just see the agenda items. We have no idea what they mean, and we can only talk about them after you guys talk about, before you guys talk about them.
So Dave, as I said earlier, draft documents are not public. I can't release them. They have to have action by council before I release a document. Okay? So the notes I give them, the draft resolutions and ordinances, till they take action, I can't share those. So that's why that information doesn't come out. But I have, based on your suggestion, changed my schedule so that council gets everything a week ahead of time. And they do get that information because it's confidential. So they can view it. They cannot share it. If they share it, they're violating Sunshine Act.
Okay.
So, because I can't just create a document, put it out into the public, because then they're going to be like, who authorized you to do that? I have to have an action of council before I release a document.
That's one reason why he put it on YouTube, is that way we get the information a week before the meeting. We talk about it at the meeting, and we normally don't do an action on anything we start talking about. We do it later. but that gives people, if they're watching, or they call in, somebody talks about it, they hear about it, they can call in and find out, or they can come to the next meeting, or whatever. That was one reason why he did that,
Right, and yeah, you definitely should have as much out there to the public as you can.
and that's what
For
we're trying to do.
conversation for the public.
That's what we're trying to do.
Now,
That's why we also were talking about getting a meeting going.
Yep, the town halls or whatever you wanna do.
Yes,
type
because
of-
that's what I've been wanting to do for years, but nobody ever came to one. You know, we put it out in the newsletter and nobody would show up.
Like, so you could lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, but at least
Well,
you're
that's what
putting
I'm
forth an
saying.
effort to do it. If it doesn't work, maybe if
I'm
it's
putting it
maybe-
out there
right.
to you.
And maybe if it's not a physical location, everyone's gotta come, maybe it's a Zoom call or
Yeah.
something, but yeah, at least to get involved.
Yes,
No, I totally agree.
that's
Now,
what
Dave,
we're
with-
trying to do.
now with the agenda, like if, if the agenda comes out, like I put it out Monday, okay, for the public, okay? When I put it out there, if you go on, you look at it, you say, hey, I got a question about that. You call into the office, I can talk to you about it.
Right.
I just can't release any documents until they.
Well, I think that, yeah, I don't think me personally, like I said, any sort of detail, if I see this, of course, it's only a couple of days if you don't see it until the last minute, but yeah, I mean, if you see something, like this, you have questions about it, if it's not an official, but it would be nice.
Yeah, I can have a conversation about it. I just can't release paperwork that's in a draft.
Right, right. No, that's
Now,
understandable.
I will clear this up for you. There's a difference between resolutions and ordinances. As Laura was saying, an ordinance, we have to come in, we have to discuss it, we have to vote to advertise it. That gives the public, whatever, 30 days till the next meeting to see the actual document.
Right.
And then come in and talk about it. Because ordinances create laws. And laws have repercussions, So, if you don't do this, you get this fine. Resolutions are different. Resolutions generally set policy. They don't set a law because there's no infractions per se. It's not like, oh, well, you did this, so I'm going to fine you. There's no fine in a resolution. It sets policy of the council. So that normally doesn't have the same vetting process. It goes out to council based on a suggestion that I would get. They would look over the language before the meeting, discuss it at the meeting. They can pass it immediately at that point. But like I said, that doesn't involve fines or anything else like that.
Actually, for me, the only thing that I have, and it actually goes with what Laura had requested, with getting help in the borough of Borough. My only suggestion would be putting something, on the website, for high school students. Are you, what age do they have to be to volunteer?
Any age.
So that would be my suggestion, because,
I even had 8-year-olds.
yeah, just because I know a lot of, colleges look at that for volunteer hours. So if there's something that you guys could sign off on, saying, hey, I worked X amount of hours, they could use that towards. I know New Oxford no longer requires it for graduation, but I don't know about like Bermudian or other school districts, if they require it for graduation still.
Anybody.
So I don't know if you want to advertise that, just to see if you can get some high school students.
I had a mother and her son.
Yeah,
She wanted him to do volunteer work.
okay.
So he came and watered a couple different times.
Yeah, just a suggestion, just to hopefully try and get more people.
So some of the outreach that we have done in the past, we've tried to work with local scouts. We've got more promises than activity from them. And then I have talked to the school, like beginning of every year. There is a student council member program that I keep offering to the school. Like if somebody from the borough is a junior or senior, they can be a student council member. They can sit up here, they can take part in, now they don't get a vote, but they can participate in the activity. Just trying to get them into civic service. We've never had a taker for it, and I've offered volunteer hours in the past to the school. If anybody needed that, never any takers. So it is like pulling teeth. Worse than pulling teeth. Because Dennis can
generation.
Well, the parent could offer it as a punishment.
Yeah.
There you go. Could be a punishment.
Could do that too. But you're right. I mean, those are great avenues. It's just
There are two.
Just trying to, yeah, and I didn't know.
trying to get them off their devices.
Yeah,
Mandatory
That's the
volunteers.
problem.
yeah.
And then Todd's gone. Anybody else? I know you came in late. You good? Okay. Okay.
All right. For the good of the order. Dan, yeah. Laura?
Yep, all I wanna say is Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and everybody has a great New Year.
Merry Christmas. I don't have anything.
Just a couple things quick. We had the liquid fuels audit, that came out perfect. We had workers' comp audit, that came out perfect. And I wasn't here last month. I didn't have the opportunity to present this. But we did, and actually our last meeting was the day. But it was a celebration of the Mayflower Compact, which were the first set of laws in America. So we received this, and then the plaque over there underneath the pictures, that's also a plaque that we can put up to commemorate that. And that's from the William Bradford, who was, well, the second governor of the colony. I take a particular interest in it because William Brewster, who signed the compact and was the religious leader of the Mayflower, is my 14th great grandfather. So it was something that was important to me. I know it's important to this council. So we'll celebrate that document. Thank you.
April. Next meeting, January 16th, 6 PM. Motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Motion by Laura, second by April. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, great.